Here we have the Lumibricks Corner Photo Studio from the Street Fusion collection, set 19016, and it's 1,425 pieces. As you can see on the box, it's got Lumibricks' standard design language, and just to show you around the sides. And this is a smaller modular building than some of the other ones, such as the record studio, boxing club, etc. So I'm just going to unbox it now. And we have the usual box for the wiring kit and things like that as well. In total, we have 25 bags and a rather generously sized manual with a service card in it as well. This is the finished build of the Corner Photo Studio Lumibricks set 19016, and it is 1,425 pieces. Comes with 2 minifigures and lots of prints. So just to spin it round and give you an overview of the build before I look at some of the more intricate details. The back, as you can see, is quite plain, and parts of the build there you can see there are things going on the inside. Wires are slightly visible in some areas as well. And as you can see, it's considerably narrower than what you would normally have for a modular type building. Focusing on the ground floor, you've got a stairway to the side, as is common with a lot of the street fusion type models from Lumibricks. Railings on the side. There's a crate by the front door, presumably with chemicals for the photo developing that's going on upstairs. I'll show you inside there in a short while. Got a nice logo build here to go on top, and then the printed sign as well, which is very nice. It's lined up and printed very nicely, I have to say. All of the frontage here is all printed as well. There are some issues with it. There are some scratches on the front here. I'm not sure if that's coming across on camera. Unfortunately, I might need to contact Lumibricks to get a replacement for that. There are some other details on the front. So we've got a railing here, a half a fire hydrant. Unfortunately, there was a piece missing. Got a bin on the side there as well. On the side, you've got an entrance, more printed pieces. You've got a camera type model or signage there. Door opens as well, some sort of pipe going down. On the back, there's not very much to see. Pretty plain, to be honest. I suspect this is likely to be displayed up and abutting something else. And then coming around to the other side, you've got the battery box and a lever here, which we'll show you what that does in a short while. More printing here as well. All in all, I would say it's a pretty attractive set, and the ground floors, I'm quite pleased with it, if I'm completely honest. Moving up to the first floor, you've got a fascia here. This was a very intricate build and took quite a long time to assemble. The end product, however, is very nice. There is a nice feature to that, which I shall show you in a short while. Spinning around, you've got this sign here, which it can be articulated, prints on both sides. This is another print here, which is very nice, although I'm not really sure why you would have that on some brickwork, but Lumibricks seem to be very keen on doing things like that. You've got one of these windows that opens. I can't get to it at the moment because I've cut my nails, but you've got the pipe work here as well, although I'm not sure where this goes. I would have expected the drain pipe to go somewhere down to the ground floor, but it is what it is. On the rear, it's still very much the same, quite plain Jane. You can get some hints of what's going on inside the build there, and obviously I'll show you that somewhere later on. On this floor, you've got another door. There isn't a stairway inside, so this is the only way up, or the only access for minifigures. There's a feature under here as well, which a switch, which hints at what may be to come, but I will obviously show you that. some sort of stained glass window build there. It's a very simple build with about 3-4 transparent bricks and then some things surrounding it. And then back to the front. I would say it's probably got a New York aesthetic to the build, really. It's very nice and very attractive, and it fits in very nicely with some of the other Lumibricks sets. Looking at the roof, you've got some nice cornice and moulding here. This again took quite a long time to build. It was very, very intricate, and it's very much the same printed all around the sides as well. And the only piece of detailing at the back of these grille or gated sections here, which I don't really think add too much, to be honest, but it is there. On the roof, you've got an aerial. I don't really think that adds very much to the build either, and you've got a chimney stack as well. Can't really see it unless you're looking down on the set though. And then back to the front, you've got the nice moulding here as well. Very much a 1930s New York aesthetic in my opinion. As with most Lumibricks products at the moment, there are ways you can access the interior. Being a smaller set, however, this isn't how you might expect it to be. So previously you've been able to slide out things such as with the record shop and other builds such as that. This is similar in some ways, but not. So this side here opens up, and you can see just inside. One element does slide out, and that is this display with lots and lots of prints. Obviously, the vendor of the shop is selling their wares. Very nice little build that, and as I say, it slots in and out. I have now switched the lights on so we can see inside the build. Not very much access in. It's a bit unfortunate really, because there are some nice details inside. So if we spin it around, you can see some elements here. There is an old-fashioned camera there, and that does light up. I will show you a nice little feature that we've got in a minute. You've got some shelving and some costumes there as well for whoever wishes to pose. On the other side, you've got something that I hinted at earlier on, where you've got a slider here. What that does is there's a build, and this was quite an unexpected thing actually. I wasn't anticipating this, but you can change the settings, or the setting I should say, for when photos are being taken by whoever's obviously visiting the shop, with the camera to the right just here. So as you can see there, the background is moving around, and that's quite nice. I will obviously show you inside once I take the first floor off. Looking down into the build, you can now see the rotating display. So I can spin it around. On one side, you've got a retro kind of looking records and ghetto blaster type arrangement. On the other side of the build is I'm really not sure what this is meant to be. I mean, there are handcuffs and things, and it looks a little bit dodgy to me, but there is a badge that says sheriff's, but I'm not really sure. I'm wondering whether this Photoshop is setting up another form of photography. But moving on, you can see there a little bit more detail with regards to, you've got a couple of hats and a camera and things going on there, and then you've got this build here. Going back to what the switch does on the side earlier on, so one of the features that was advertised was a flash. So you can flip the switch and then make it look like someone's taking photographs within the establishment, which I think is very nice. And just to show you what that looks like on the outside as well. And you can just switch it back to a static light as well if you wish to do that. Focusing on the first floor, there is access from the front, but also by taking the roof off. As I said earlier on, this part of the build was very intricate, so this fascia here, there are lots and lots of pieces built into it, which is nice, but I would say it's a very challenging build as well, potentially. There are a couple of elements which are quite difficult to build later on, particularly with routing the wiring, so I would say this set isn't particularly for a novice builder. On the inside of the front wall, you've got curtains here, blackout curtains, because this is presumably where the photos are developed. It is a dark room, so you can change the colours of the lighting inside should you wish. Just looking a little bit more at the detail there. So again, you've got lots of prints inside. You've got 2 lights just up the top here as well, and you can change the colours of those, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Quite a lot of detail in there. There is a bath here for the photographs to be developed, and there is a loose standing piece of transparent blue 1x8 tile. Couple of stalls. I don't know what this machine is here, but there is one there nonetheless. Oddly enough, there's a record player in the corner. Don't know why that would be in a photo studio, but there it is. Got a sofa there as well, and that's covering up the switch, which is under this flap here. And then if you turn that on, your room is now a dark room, and I will dim the lights in a bit and show you what that looks like a bit more closely. Again, I think it's quite a nice build. There's lots of prints and quite a lot of things going on there, which I think are very nice. And for completeness, that's looking down into the first floor with the roof taken off as well as the front. As you can see from the front here, there are just 2 studs there, and there are 2 clips inside, and these sections here will grab hold of that and hold the front wall on. It's nice and easy to do, although I would say slightly finicky because these walls will push in and push out, so you need to adjust it as you're sliding it in. But as with any Lumibricks set, they're nicely assembled, so the roof and the floors come off very easily. They appear to have been able to address the issue of the lighting now, so removing this, it comes off very easily, and these pieces no longer break apart, which I think is fantastic. Just means that your hard-earned money is going towards something that just works a little bit better than perhaps it might have done previously. This set comes with a small side build, a little photo booth here. It's hard to see, but there is a printed element inside to make it look like a machine. I'll just see if I can put a bit more light on it. So quite a nice little side build. It's got a checkered floor, which is nice, stool inside. There are printed elements all over. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 printed elements in there, which is great. A nice little side build that could perhaps sit next to your photo studio or some other area if you've got a street fusion city. The set also comes with 2 minifigures. People can loathe or love these minifigures. I'm really not too fussed about them, but I don't find them at all offensive. This one, I think, is a customer who's got his camera on, and the legs on Lumibricks sets are not dual molded, so the black boots shoes are actually printed. They're not dual molded. And then you've got another one here who I think possibly runs the store or could indeed be another customer. Printing quality is okay. Headpiece is fine. They've only got one expression on, so you can't rotate the head and get a different expression. As with all Lumibricks minifigures, though, they do need to be assembled, and they can be a little bit fussy in that both the arms and the hands are sort of for both sides. So if you get them the wrong way around, then the arms just point backwards and the hands point downwards and things like that. So these can be a little bit fussy to assemble. This is the manual that comes with the set. You can scan the QR code to get a digital copy if you wish. I think it's quite a nicely printed manual. There are a couple of sets which I think could be clearer, so where the wire gets routed and things, I got a little bit sort of confused in a couple of places, unfortunately. On the whole, it's okay. I referred elsewhere in this video to this section of the build that was extremely frustrating. So step 57, as you can see here, you've got this specialized part with channels built in. Trying to line it up along here, I'm just going a little bit closer so you can see. So trying to line that wire up to follow the route whilst also trying to do it in the channel, that was a particularly challenging part of the build to do. You can see here as well that in part of the build you've got sort of some Technic pieces and things which then operates the slider mechanism there. This was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting something like that to be in this set, so when I was building it I hadn't looked at any of the features for this to start with, so when I saw what this was, I was pleasantly surprised actually. I'm not sure it adds very much to the set because you can't really see the display because you can't remove the front of the build or anything like that, so it's sort of tucked away in the corner, which is okay, but I think that money could have been better spent doing some other things that may have made the set a little bit more enhanced. This is the set in a room without any lights switched on. As you can see, it is very brightly lit, so there's a light on the side which I think is probably a bit too bright, although it does light up the area very nicely. And similarly as well, the lighting inside reflects here. The sign on the outside is very nicely lit. The canister, the film canister, however, isn't lit. You can see I've got the room upstairs lit up as a dark room at the moment. I think it possibly could be argued that it looks a bit like an establishment of ill repute, shall we say. However, that can easily be dealt with by just lifting the flap as was before and putting it back to a white light. So the lighting in the set is all different temperatures. So these are very cold or very cool white lights. Inside, the lighting is a bit warmer, as you would perhaps expect. I'm just removing the frontage again so you can get an idea of what it looks like from inside when it's lit up. This is largely accurate to what I'm seeing with my eyes, so it's you're getting a good idea of what's happening here. And then just to go back to the red light as well, so I'm sure you'll agree that's very nice. Just looking down onto the ground floor, it's very nicely lit up. I'm just going to open the door there, and you can hopefully clearly see the setting moving around. And just for completeness sake, I'll open up the door on the side and show you there as well. For completeness sake, we're now looking at the set from a dimly lit room. As you can see, the lighting on the set does hold its own. So as a display piece, perhaps in a warmer lit room, perhaps of an evening time relaxing, I think that this does hold its own as a display piece. All in all, I think it looks very nice and does, on the whole, look the part. And as you can see, I haven't assembled it properly there. As I was saying, this piece can be a little bit fiddly, and it was rather intricate to build. So, yeah, you're getting an idea of what it's like at least. And for the sense of scale, I've decided to display it next to the record shop and the newsstand set. As you can see, there is a substantial difference in size between them. I've aligned the front plates, so this one actually looks a bit bigger than it really is, so just pushing it back there slightly, that's probably a better idea of its size in comparison. And then with the new stand as well, and that's the set's rotated round. As you can see, the photo studio is half the depth of the record shop and is in fact the same depth as the newsstand. These are all the spare parts. I'm not sure whether I've missed something in the set somewhere, but I'm slightly surprised to see some slightly larger pieces such as these. Obviously, you've got Lumibricks' brick separator, the screwdriver so you can get into the battery box, the tweezers to help you with the routing of the wiring, and you also have one of these as well. So if you don't want to put batteries in a little battery box, you've got a USB-A here, so you can plug that into a power bank or perhaps even directly into the wall. I'm not sure that's entirely practical though, because the wire is quite short. So positives of the Corner Photo Studio. I think it looks the part. It will display very nicely compared to other sets, or next to other sets I should say. It is a smaller build and is of slightly better value than many of the other sets, although Lumibricks seems to focus on value quite strongly. It's certainly much better value than Lego. I paid £80 UK for this. I got it as soon as it released, so I'm sure there will be some deals available for it in the UK at least within the very near future. In terms of negatives, there are some, unfortunately. So the first of these is this battery box here. So I can just about get it on there. So with the battery box, unfortunately, the supporting points are on the far side, so it doesn't take very much to knock it from its mount, which is slightly annoying if you are going to be moving the set around. As you can see, the elements there just aren't positioned particularly well, and it's a bit wobbly, which is a bit annoying. You may not be able to see it on the camera. Unfortunately, some of the elements, there are some color discrepancies, or they just don't quite match. What I'm seeing with my eyes, at least, is this piece here is darker than the bits surrounding it, and these bits are darker. Similarly with little bits here. So I did feel that when it was going together, the bricks just didn't feel like the same quality that I've been used to with Lumibricks, and certainly aren't matching Lego as closely as they perhaps did at one point. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you're putting the bricks together, they didn't have that sort of smooth clicking feeling. They tended to sort of feel a bit sticky, which is a bit unfortunate. It's I suspect they're doing a bit of cost cutting there, which is understandable in some ways, but unfortunately I think it is slightly affecting the quality. I would say from a Lumibricks perspective, this is a slightly more advanced build. As I said, the fascia here, very intricate and very, very difficult to build in some ways. There are also some elements. So under this rotating platform on the inside, you're routing wires through it. And there was one piece in particular, which was a custom or specialized 2x4 piece with some channels built into it. And getting the wires to go through it without pinching them it drove me mad. It took ages to get that part to fit properly. There are some other elements as well which I think are potentially worth noting. So you've got these parts here which are just long and they don't overlap like normal brickwork, so I feel that element there with the wire running up the middle is a little bit fragile, so I wouldn't be grabbing the set from that part. All in all, however, I think the build does look the part. I think it will display very nicely with other similar sets from the Street Fusion series, and I would recommend it. I think it's better value than many sets, and certainly much better value than Lego sets. And I think from the fact that it's roughly half the price of some of the larger siblings, I think it's excellent value, and I would wholeheartedly recommend it.